ready for the most random but authentic jelly gouache review? Well then sit back and get yourself some tea or coffee, because I got this 56-piece Miya jelly gouache set for my birthday. And even though I converted to tube gouache about 10 months ago, I was so excited to unpack this. Because I was a beginner when I first tried jelly gouache paints, and I was always suspecting that I did not give it a fair chance because of my inexperience. But once I switched to tube gouache, I immediately fell in love. With every painting, I just learned so much more about the medium and how to use it. It nearly became effortless. So maybe I'm biased, but while I always had to manage my jelly gouache paints, I had a certain flow with tube gouache without the struggle. Because let's be honest, for setting up this particular set of gouache, only gets like 2 out of 5 stars. I mean, it was pretty terrible. I set this palette up for more than 1 hour, no joke. Yes, with swatching, but still. Maybe I got the palette with the super sealed colors, but I nearly gave up about 3 times and my fingers were hurting the whole day after this disaster. It was such a pain in the ass and honestly a crazy mess where I had to wash my hands the whole time because I got the colors all over me. Which is sad, because I was super excited to try them for multiple weeks. And it might not seem like a big deal, but to have such struggle with setting up is something that someone who suffers from occasional art block might not want to risk. After all, if you take your time to unpack new equipment and create, you want to get to the creating as fast as possible. And I thought I would share this with you because not one video or watched of jelly gouache unpacking ever warned me about this very annoying process. So in the spirit of transparency, we skip all the struggle and come to our next, more pleasant point. Aesthetic. Because look at those paints. I love the vibrant nature of the colors and the fact that the printed and the real color swatches matched really great. I'm not used to that because especially with alcohol markers, the labels do not match like half the time. So for color swatch accuracy, they get about 4.5 stars from 5, which is pretty high and nearly a perfect score. And for aesthetic, they get a whopping 5 out of 5 stars. With artists, we should never underestimate the pure joy that aesthetic things bring to us. So this is not an aspect to overlook. Most of us just love aesthetic things, cute things, nice looking things. Sometimes we will even sacrifice on practicality for the sole purpose of a more appealing design. And maybe I'm biased, but really some part of me, even though I know that these colors are highly poisonous, wants to take a bite. Maybe I'm weird and alone with this feeling. Please let me know in the comment section. But for now, let's move on, because I need to see these colors in action, which seem to be a very challenge on its own. Because I'm not used to painting big, but rather small, so how can I test out all these colors in one sitting? Well, I didn't. Sorry, by the way. But I could not think of a way to use every single color, so I decided to make a sketchbook spread exclusively with our warm color palette in the spirit of autumn. This way I could test all the colors from green to deep red, so practically half the set. I'm thinking about something I could paint with a cold palette to complete my test, like water, flowers, or even a combination. But for now, to only test the warm color palette is enough for me. And don't question the next part, but because I'm crazy to get my money's worth and because I hate unnecessary wastefulness, I scraped off the colors from the lids and onto my Stay Wet palette. It was and looks kinda chaotic, but worked pretty good. When it comes to consistency, I must say I'm used to my tube colors drying up very quickly, which is why I got a Stay Wet palette in the first place. And with this palette, they work fairly well. I'm not sure the Miya jelly gouache paints would really have needed it, especially because they feel a little less pigmented, but I wanted them to be extra smooth because I was planning on doing mostly crazy transitions between green, yellow, orange, red and brown. On the palette, the colors were ideally very smooth, but also a little thin. They did not mix extremely well, but the longer I worked with them, the more I got the hang of it, and the more and more fun I had while painting these beautiful fall ornaments. So for consistency, they get a 4 out of 5 stars. And for longevity, in the sense of how long will I be able to paint with this, I must say they nearly get a 5 out of 5 stars. Because I see myself using this set for a long period of time before I will run out of even one color. With 30 milliliters, this really is a lot of product to use if you think about the 56 different colors you get. I only have to take 1 star away because I already had a jelly gouache set, and was quickly proven wrong. As I was not even a quarter through my colors, I had some serious problems with contamination, which made them useless very early on. So I'm kind of traumatized. I think it's maybe my own fault, but really I did not know better. There were no warnings or instructions with the product, and I only found out about this problem after it happened to me. But in the meantime, I also learned how to take care of this palette, which is why I'm optimistic that this time there won't be an issue. I hope. I also have my concerns because of how high maintenance the old palette was. I needed to refresh the paints whenever I used them, because I only painted once a week and sometimes just every other week, which dry the paints out in a way they become unusable if not refreshed first. Yes, to refresh your paints only takes about 10 to 15 minutes, but when it comes to art and creating, I would rather invest this time into the art making process instead of managing my equipment. And all of this might seem like I did not enjoy the present at all, which is absolutely not true. I love gouache. From the very first time that I tried them, I was hooked. It was exactly what I was looking for, creatively. And so I'm glad. I'm glad that there are affordable brands out there that give every artist the possibility of trying this incredible medium. Yes, they feel a little chalky and streaky at times, and yes, I probably would advise everyone who has got the money to spend to just buy the Winsor & Newton tubed ones, or at least the Arteza set that I have with an additional stay wet palette. But no, I do not think that these jelly gouache sets are in any way bad choices or picks for beginners. You can still create beautiful things with them. It's still fun to just get creating with these and to slowly build the skill. You can always transition away from more affordable brands to options with higher quality and price ranges. But it's incredibly sad and heartbreaking if you put hundreds into new art supplies only to realize that you don't enjoy using them. I know this feeling so well, with incredible artists like Kelsey Rodriguez or Sophia Alijabori, who paint exclusively in oil, and Talia Stanton, who is the mixed media goddess. I always feel the urge to try oil painting as well, but I just feel so much anxiety about it. It seems like a very sophisticated, expensive and health-threatening art supply if used incorrectly, so I never built the nerve to try it. But with gouache, you buy it, you unpack it, and when you can feel your fun begin from all the unpacking struggle, you can start painting. As long as you don't start to eat the paint, which might be a very convincing craving, everything will be fine at the end. It's the most soothing, less intimidating art supply I know, and just silently pushes you to paint something calming and beautiful. And even though with the art community gouache tends to have more and more fans per day, there are still so many people who don't know about this amazing medium. So yes, I'm all the way for pushing cheaper brands so that more and more people can fall in love with gouache. So for accessibility, this set gets 5 out of 5 stars, clearly. Maybe the paints are so enjoyable and accessible because they are so cheap and vibrant. Because you don't need a lot of experience to have fun and create something incredible. And with the colors displayed in this very aesthetic way, you instantly feel a pressing desire to use them in your next creation. While they are very pigmented, the colors sometimes feel a little chalky or streaky. I don't know how I could describe it better. And I never really felt that way when I first started and had nothing to compare my jelly gouache to. But now that I'm a tube gouache girly, I can literally feel how stiff some colors are. But if you never converted, this will be no problem for you. If you have nothing to compare them to, the pigment and light fastness are pretty decent, at least 3.5 stars. But sometimes the colors seem a little too overpowered, like they are so pigmented and vibrant, it's hard to get a feel for which colors mix well. And this is also the luxury of having a set this big. You don't have to worry about color theory and mixing charts. With the gel gouache approach, I nearly always caught myself with mostly picking the colors the way they already are, or at least very close to the original shade. because there nearly always is a color that is close enough to your vision, which is extremely convenient but can also make you a lazier artist. Fact is, I started to see much more improvement in my color choice and the cohesiveness of my paintings when I started to get deeper into color theory and how to mix colors. Because I only have 24 pieces in my artesian gouache set, I had to learn how to do these things. Because there's no way to paint all the things I want with only 24 original colors. Not to say that you cannot learn these things with jelly gouache, but from my experience, I didn't. Because I'm pretty lazy. But I don't think this reflects bad on the colors. Just because the handling is so easy and fantastic is no excuse for laziness. The only thing that kinda unsettles me is the fact that there is no way you could ever bring this gouache set on the go. It is pretty gigantic, very heavy, and even though it seems very sturdy and airtight, with my luck I would definitely push it over or drop it once or twice if I took them with me traveling. But if you have a gigantic table and the space to store something this big, it is the perfect palette for at home. But never on the go. So if you are into plein air painting, this set is not for you. Sorry. Despite that, and overall, after concluding all the pretty random but honest ratings we just talked about, the set gets around 3.5 stars out of 5. It is very beginner friendly, good for people who have the space but not the money to spend on expensive art supplies. It will be especially beloved by artists who die for aesthetic and cute things and love to take care of their belongings. If you don't have much knowledge about color theory or mixing charts, this palette will still work wonderfully for you and give you all that you need to create beautiful paintings from day one. And if this does not sound like you, I'm currently working on my tube gouache set review, which might be a better fit. So hit subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. Thank you for watching and listening, and until next time, keep drawing. Bye!